I'm not really sure. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing my January TBR. Alright, before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is the book you're gonna start the year off with. Alrighty, so first TBR of the year, I am so excited to be saying hello again to my TBR jars. First, let's dive right into these babies. If you are new to my channel, hello, I have two TBR jars. One is for my physical TBR, i.e. books that I actually currently own and need to read. The other is for my digital TBR, or the to be read list I have on Goodreads, Storygraph, you know, those online ones, the ones that I don't actually own, but Lord knows that TBR is quite big and I need to work on it. Let's start things out with my own TBR for the year. Okay. I always like to get as down the middle as possible. I have added a few prompts into this, but if you ever have an idea for a prompt, please let me know some in the comments down below. I really appreciate new ones. Let's go with this. Prompt swap. Okay, so I can do this. It just means that whatever prompt I swap for this one, I'm actually going to do for my digital, and then whatever prompt I pull from digital will be for the physical. That works, but that means I have to draw another physical, which we're then going to use for digital. Did you follow that? Let's go with this. A title with even numbers. So a title that has even numbers in it. I think that actually works out really well. For this one, I'm gonna do Fence Volume 6 by 𝗖cie RH and illustrated by Joanna the Mad, because that comes out in January. Works out perfectly because it is the 6th one in the series. Plus, this helps me stay on top of my series, which is something I really want to keep doing this year. Fence is a YA contemporary sports graphic novel series, that was a mouthful, which is following our main character Nicholas, who is the illegitimate son of this world-renowned fencing champion, and he is determined to become just as good a fencer as his father. So he ends up going to this fencing school and actually manages on the team, but unfortunately his roommate is 𝗖cie, a guy who absolutely kicked his ass in a qualifying round last year. The dynamic between the two of them is so much fun. The slow friendship that has been developing is very adorable. I've had so much fun with this series. They're just very easy, light reads. Absolutely, we'll be getting to that. I read the first 4 volumes, I think it was, for a vlog 2 years ago, so I'll put a link to that in the cards. Okay, so technically we got our digital prompt done. Now let's go for our physical prompt from the digital TBR jar. This one I might have to redraw because there are some in here that I can't necessarily do with my physical, but we'll see. Let's go with this one. Oh, a book everyone talks about. I'd say I could probably do something easy for that. Oh, my knee, that hurt. For this prompt, I am gonna go with Razor Blade Tears by 𝗖cie RH. This is one that I've definitely heard everybody talking about. I've heard a lot of positive things. This is a thriller, I believe, in which we are following 2 fathers whose sons were married and in a interracial relationship. However, both fathers did not approve of the relationship, but when their sons are actually killed in what appears to be a hate crime, I think the 2 of them end up teaming up to sort of enact revenge. I've heard a million positive things about this. I've been wanting to read it for quite some time. I just haven't really been prioritizing thrillers lately, but this is a perfect way for me to do so I can hopefully get this off my TBR and perhaps maybe find a new favorite thriller. We'll see. TBR jars done. Next is a goal that I am making for myself this year. I've talked about it a little bit previously, but I am going to be diving into the Star Wars canon books this year. I am going off of the list that is chronologically ordered on yodasdatapad.net. I'll put a link to that in the description if you're intrigued. My goal is to hit about 2 of these a month if possible. I might not always make that, and I think I'm gonna try and do a vlog for this process. Let's say every 2 months. That sounds good. So for the first one, I'm gonna be going with Star Wars: The High Republic Convergence by Zoraida Cordova. Ironically, an author I have read from previously and really enjoyed. This one is following a Jedi who is tasked with trying to uncover an assassination plot, ended up ruining what should have been a, what's the word I want? A peace treaty that was developing between these 2 worlds who have been warring for years. Obviously, this is going to give me the opportunity to dive more into the sci-fi genre, which I'm very interested by, but also to officially get into more of the Star Wars world, and I'm very excited for that. I'm preparing myself for these books to all feel like I am just watching an episode of a Star Wars TV show. Tales of the Jedi, or, you know, some of those one-off Clone Wars episodes, and I'm very excited for that. The second one I'm going to be reading is Star Wars: The High Republic Path of Deceit, which is by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. This one I think is following some Jedi who are trying to retrieve this object that crash landed on a planet, but the inhabitants of that planet actually don't believe in utilizing the Force as a ability. They think it is more of this holy thing to be worshipped, I'm fairly certain. So it kind of is diving into more of like the religious aspects of the Force that exists in the Star Wars universe, and I'm very, very intrigued to read about that. This one is set at roughly 150 years before Phase 1. Still way back when. I'm very excited to get into it because, you know, religious themes are something I love to see, and particularly in the Star Wars universe, I just can't wait to explore that. On top of those 4 books that I currently have planned, I also am hoping to partake in Winterween, which is hosted by Olivia Reads-Alate and Gabby Reads. All information for the readathon is going to be linked in the description down below. I think when this video comes out, it might have just started. So starting up, one of the default prompts they always have is to read a book in the dark. I'll do that at some point, whether it's ebook, audio, something. I'll figure it out. The next prompt is to read a book with a witch involved. So for that one, I am going to be going with The Dark Tide by 𝗖cie Ich𝗁𝘁. This was on my 10 books for 2023, and now for 2024. It was also a 5-star prediction. I've just never actually gotten to it. Josh grabbed this for me when it was actually a mystery book. I think I have, yes I do. Little bits that he thought made it sound like me was every year an innocent life must be sacrificed to the Witch Queen. She doesn't want her brother to be chosen. YA fantasy with sapphic romance. And that definitely does sound very up my alley. I think I really only heard one person talk about this book, and I think she enjoyed it. I think that was Liv at Liv's Library who read this. I really love the aesthetic of it, and the idea behind it does sound pretty intriguing. I also read when I checked out reviews that it has pretty lyrical writing, which is also very up my alley. So that's why I was expecting this to be 5 stars. Then next up is to read a book with a snowy or winter setting, because it's Winterween. I don't necessarily know if this will count, but I feel like it should. Instinct by Jason M. Huff, which is following this woman who has just recently become a police captain in this very small town set in the mountains, I believe in Montana, Washington. I mean, mountains, Washington. I feel like snow is going to be involved. The police captain is initially expecting that this is going to be a very, very quiet town with not much crime, but then people start disappearing, I think is what happens. Oh, okay, no, they start dying in very abnormal incidents that you would think most of the people in this town would know to avoid. So then she starts digging into it and uncovers a larger conspiracy. That was what originally made me pick this up, was the conspiracy element, if I'm being honest. I grabbed this from a closing Barnes & Noble sale 3 years ago and still haven't gotten to it. Here's hoping that I finally do. Then we have to read a book with purple on the cover, Come For Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valenti. Adriana at Carbon Bonded Books actually bought me this, so I have no idea about it though, honestly. It is a horror novella that I know I shouldn't really look too much into because it's super short, but I think from what I've heard, it kind of has like Stepford Wives energy. I'm not really sure. I have no idea what to expect from this book. I know it's pretty divisive, so chances are I'm either gonna really like it or really not like it. This is a very easy read to complete this prompt, so hopefully I will get that done. And then for the final one, to read a book that has a W in the title, I am going to be reading 2 Part Sugar, 1 Part Murder by Valerie Burns. This is the start of a cozy mystery series. I still haven't found one that I love, but I am determined to keep on trying. This one is following a woman who recently has inherited, I think it's like her great aunt's bakery, yes, as well as her giant dog. And of course, you know, it's a cozy mystery, so somebody's gonna like die in the bakery or adjacent to the bakery, and she's gonna get dragged into trying to solve it. I've heard nobody talk about this. I'm interested. Hopefully this will be an easy one to figure out whether or not this series will work for me when it comes to cozy mysteries. It hasn't been going well, but I keep trying. So that's it for Winterween, but I do have a few other books that I would love to get read in January. First off would be to continue another series with Murderbot by Martha Wells. I want to try and pick up the 7th book, Systems Collapse, which I think has returned back to the novel format. I think it's around like 250 pages. I have come to care so much about the Murderbot character, and the series itself has just been a very fun ride that I did not think I would love as much as I do. I recently heard Kristen at Kristen Craves Books praising it, and I think she was saying that it actually is starting to dive into some of the more human aspects of Murderbot, looking at like their PTSD from the things they've experienced throughout the series, and I think that's going to be very interesting. I love the underlying topic Wells has with this series. What is constituted as living and human, even if it's a created being, a created AI, but at the same time, Murderbot is so original, is so themselves. Very humanoid, even if they often look down on humans and hate human emotions. You can't deny that as the series has gone on, they've become more human, and that's why I've come to love them all the more, because seeing them experiencing these things is so much fun. Finally, the one other book I would love to get read is to complete my nonfiction goal. I try to read about one nonfiction book a month. I'm not always fantastic about it, but I am gonna start that goal over here. So I'm gonna start with The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. This is on the older side. I believe it came out in the 90s, but it is talking about the relationship between beauty and the female identity, something that I find very interesting. So I'm very excited to pick this one up. I do know to take it with a bit of grain of salt, because I've seen some critiques of this book and other work that I've read previously, which is already kind of interesting to keep that aware in the back of my head. But also it is on the older side, so I'm interested to see how things have changed since this book was written and how things have stayed the same as well. From flipping through it, it does seem like it's going to be a bit more of an academic text, seeing as how it's got a bibliography and an index, as well as many pages of notes. So I might be having to dig back into my case study reading skills. Very excited to finally get to this one. Alrighty, so that is our first TBR stack for the year. Not terrible, but there are a few books that I don't have included in here. It would also be fantastic if I managed to read either a comic or manga, complete that mini goal I have for myself every year. Oh wait, no, I already have one. My graphic novel, Fence. Never mind, we have one already. So I guess the one other little goal is to read a book that is more than 450 pages. I'm not gonna set that one. I'm gonna be nice to myself. We'll see how it goes. All right, so that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for going to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you got all the way to the end of this video, leave a snowflake emoji in the comments down below. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!